Hello and welcome to the Automation Industry Roundtable brought to you by MarketScale. I'm Tyler Kern. Now this is a forum for thought leaders and experts to discuss the biggest topics and stories across the world of automation. And we all know that the adoption of automation and robotics has taken off in recent years, but one of the primary questions that remains is what the advancement of robotics means for workers in the United States and around the world. And essentially we're asking the question, are robots coming to take your jobs? And joining me today for our roundtable discussion is Derek DeGeest, the third generation president of the DeGeest Corporation and Lesta USA. Derek, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Tyler.
Always good to talk to you, sir. We also have Ben Taylor, the Chief AI Evangelist for Data Robot. Ben, always great to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tyler.
Absolutely. And finally, last but not least, our international guest comes to us all the way from Italy. His name is Emmanuel Mazza. He's the co-founder of Lesta. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tyler.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, obviously we're talking today about automation and how that's impacting the workforce. That's going to be our overall topic. We'll go in a lot of different directions and have a lot of different conversations. But first and foremost, I think there's no denying that automation and robotics are a rapidly growing field. Ben, let's start off here. What is driving this wave of adoption?
I think we run into snags where you're limited by human growth capital or experience transfer. And I think as a human, if you look in manufacturing technicians, how do you transfer experience? And sometimes that's very complicated. It gets buried in technical documents that people don't review. And so I'm sure people listening have had the experience that, oh, shoot, we can't solve this problem. Go find the white-haired technician to come and help. And that's an example of experience transfer. So and the last thing I'll add is it's getting a lot easier. This used to be hard. So
I think not only is it's also just that people aren't set up to be able to bring it in. So as we look at bringing automation and robotics into the general workforce, people are looking at it, they're reading the magazines, they're seeing it, and they think they need to have it, but they don't know how to bring it in. So it's been interesting to see that everyone's looking for an easy button, and they want to find a way to get involved. And a lot of companies are trying to figure out what that infrastructure looks like to be able to bring that into their companies.
Global perspective here of automation, and what's the current climate for innovations in terms of automation and robotics in a place like Italy?
Yeah. Well, let's say that in Italy we have a long experience in automation because we have a lot of. Italy is one of is the third manufacturing country in Europe, and the world is one of the higher place in the ranking. So let's say that the experience over here is huge. We have a lot of different application, and the big benefit that I think that Italy was able to spread in the world is that we have very different sector, different job. For example, let's say automation in plastic industry, automation in food industry. And in the beginning, we were and we are still a big manufacturer, but we were able to transform our experience in machines and automation that we were able to sell abroad worldwide. This is why even if we have little companies able to produce machines and automation, we have a lot of export in this field. Italy is one of the biggest exporters of technology for manufacturing. And I'm sure that one of the reasons is the long experience in many different fields and in many different applications in the past.
I think one interesting thing that Lesta brings for robotics and for bringing that to be able to help adopt that is that you don't need engineers and you don't need robotic programmers. So it's a new wave of adoption. It opens up a whole nother sector to be able to bring automation and robotics into general industry. So it's kind of a whole field of underserved market that now has an opportunity to be able to bring that in without having some of those other layers of support that some of the larger companies have. So I think that's opened up a whole new market and way for companies to be able to bring that into their companies.
And if I might piggyback really quick on what Derek's talking about, I think there's an important call out that manufacturing, we've had automation for a long time. Like, 2008, Intel and Micron had a completely automated fab. All the wafers go through the whole process. But what you're finding are new opportunities. Automation is being applied to new things that were just too challenging to consider 10 or 20 years ago. But yeah, we've had automation for a long time, so that might be kind of interesting to unpack, that we've had automation, but how is this different?
And automation isn't just robots either. I think people automatically think of robots, and I think that, Ben, like you're really big in automation, maybe not as much in the robotics, but even the software side. But I've seen a lot of companies, they think they need to automate, and they're looking to bring a robot in, or they bring a really fancy machine in, and they're like, I have automation now. Yeah, right there, but the rest of everything else is still chaotic, or it's behind, or you just made a new bottleneck somewhere else. I think people step back and look that there's a lot of different ways to look at bringing automation into your workplace, and it isn't just marching in with a bunch of industrial robots all the time either.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really, you explode the business by processes. A process can be a physical process, it can be a human process, it can be a data process. In any process, there's an opportunity to augment or potentially automate.
Yes, another important aspect that this is our experience is that, for example, in Leicester, we are trying to achieve one big goal, and this goal is to be able to spread automation also in very little companies. Because, for example, our let's say our target is not automotive. We are not able to supply automation to automotive. We are focused completely on the general industry. General industry in Italy, for example, is company also of. I showed Derek during the trip in Italy, maybe 2-3 guys working in the company, and then maybe they have 2 robots. And this in the past looks like something very, very unbelievable, but now is our standard customer. We have very little companies with many robots, and they indeed make automation on their process. That in this case maybe is a very simple process, but they switch from the manual operation to the automation with robots.
So it sounds like a lot of what you guys are saying is that automation has been around for a while, but there's been accelerated adoption and different types of automation that has recently come on that has maybe exploded a little bit more in popularity. I wonder about the impact of coronavirus and the COVID-19 pandemic and what you guys have seen in terms of that also maybe changing the way that automation is being adopted. Have we seen maybe more facilities looking to invest in automation to keep things running while reducing the number of staff in a particular facility at a given time? What have you guys seen as far as how COVID-19 has really affected automation adoption?
I think that what we've seen is, Emma can speak to the same, is that our requests and inquiries for companies looking at robotics has just exploded. And the pandemic is part of it. I think companies lost employees, saw how vulnerable they are to some of their tasks that from some of the jobs that they had or were lost. But also now, just because it's gone on for so long, there's now pent-up demand that's being unleashed now, even before the pandemic's done, that orders volumes are increasing, and now people I've talked to companies from every industry out there, and they all can't find them, or they've lost some, or they're not coming back. Now productions are trying to increase, so people are more heightened to trying to find automation to increase production, and to seeing how vulnerable they are to other events like what happened this last year.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's also I'll just go real quick. I think too, it's the skeleton crew knee-jerk reaction. Like March hits, skeleton crew. Turns out that brings on a forced digital transformation. More engineers can work remote. Less people have to be on the floor. And so there's kind of this, what does the skeleton crew look like? Because we've never needed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, as Derek said, for sure we experienced a big increasing wave of requests and leads and opportunities, and indeed we are trying to satisfy all the requests. And we saw 2 things. First of all, we saw new customers that never worked with automation in his mind. Maybe just maybe in the future they just wanted to speed up. They jump into the world of robotics automation. But another important thing is that we saw a lot of customers that already started to work with robots and automation coming back to buy other units to increase their production and to be much more safe in order to avoid, for example, troubles due to the COVID or the pandemic. So for sure, these two aspects for us at least were really interesting.
So I think if you wanted to, you could go out and find a lot of maybe scary statistics for people about how many jobs automation can take away and how much maybe robotics and automation might eventually replace human beings. Why shouldn't automation be viewed as a scary or a bad thing? Ben, let me toss this to you first.
Okay. Oh, you start with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I love this question because there's so much fear and doom and gloom around it. But what is the reality out there in the wild? So I've had the experience where we're working with a marketing company. We did a proof of concept, and in 2 weeks we beat their humans. So an entire department of humans that are doing a task of sourcing, AI is better than them. The naive response would be, well, so all the humans got fired. No, the humans went from doing mundane, repetitive work to creative work. And so really, this is something, there will be some growing pains. People will be impacted, but this is a beautiful transition to creative work. Innovation and creative work. Are your engineers stuck doing excursion reports or things where they're burdened by these processes, or are they trying to focus on the hard, the big rocks and the hard problems? So that's the beauty that's coming, is we'll be more innovative, not really the people reduction side.
And it's not replacing or eliminating jobs. It's eliminating jobs that people can't fill already, or it's just a job. And every generation wants better for the next generation. And the kids today they're very educated on what their options are, and they want more, and they want to be engaged. They want to be part of the process, and they want. So we have to create these jobs, and automation through AI, through robotics. They're all delivering that. We just have to kind of adapt and move people into creating these jobs that we will be able to fill. And we're taking jobs that we can't fill, and we're creating potential career opportunities for people that can do for a long time, which will then get people involved in it, and get people that want to be able to go into that as an industry.
Yeah, Ben said right. Well, our experience is clear. Is a transition. This is the right way, because it's a transition between a way to work to another way. I mean, for example, in our company now, from 2 people, now we are 25 people, and we hired a lot of new guys. And what is important is that we were looking for educated guys. So we hired a software engineer, robotics engineer. So we are switching from. We are not looking for. With the low skilled workers, let's say, sorry for that, but we are jumping on more educated people, and this is why we are looking for software robotics. And just again with the experience of my countries, here is very tough and hard to get good people working in this field. It's very hard to get engineer, software, IT guys, and so on. But we are looking. There is a lot of place available and a lot of room for them. But anyway, it's hard. And this is a transition. So changing the place, it will need time. I'm sure that someone is scared about the transition, like usually, like is the history of the world. When something is changing, many people is waiting and nervous, but it's a never-ending story. So it will go ahead, and people must understand. This is my point of view.
And to push even harder on that, Tyler, job satisfaction will go up. So the people that are working, they will be more satisfied because of the type of work they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is another important point. We are really, I'm personally really happy when I have customers that start to work with robots, and the worker and the people that is in charge to take care about the robots, because robots need people that take care about that. The robot can work by itself, but it needs someone to take care. And I'm really happy when I see people that understand it. I mean, that for example, the team that is in charge for the new process, really happy about the new solution, because they work much better. They work with much more satisfaction, and they can achieve a lot of good results. And this is for them is a very interesting approach to the new solutions.
The engagement goes up. They're engaged and actively involved in the process. They're they're not checking in and mentally checking out. When you automate those tasks, as Ben said, then they're doing higher level things. They're thinking more, and then or they create opportunity and time for them to be able to put it towards improving another part of the process. We've seen that with a lot of our customers here in the U.S. too. That we've got painters that have painted for 20, 30 years, and then they teach a robot to do something. Never thought they say, I'm not very technical. I'm not a computer guy. And they teach a robot what to do, and they watch it and they look at me and say, I can't believe I just did that. That's me. I did that. And then all of a sudden they're even more proud of that. And they then see how valued their skills are and their knowledge of what they have, not just to be able to contribute to be able to continue to do that task, but that you can apply that and be able to multiply those efforts. It's a really neat thing to see.
So I think the scenario that exists in the back of everyone's mind is that is the iRobot situation, right? The movies, or even is it Paul Bunyan who gets beat by a machine and gets shown that eventually man always loses out to machine, and that's the big concern. But so in the end, all three of you are saying in a different way that robots aren't coming to take our jobs; they're coming to make jobs better. They're coming to make jobs easier. They're coming to make jobs more efficient. Am I right about that?
That's the short-term win. So the next 10, 20, 30 years, the expectation is a lot of the jobs that humans should be doing creative work, those will be taken over. The thing you're pulling on, Tyler, is the long-term view that eventually even the creative work and the stuff that is super technical is consumed by AI. And that's where there's just a big question mark.
It seems like there's a long ways away from robots walking around taking normal jobs. A lot of the manufacturing in the general industry side it is very technical, and there's just not a lot of repetitive things that happen. I watched recently when a group of a bunch of super smart robotic guys got a robot to like open a door, and everyone's like up jumping around cheering to be able to turn a doorknob. And I think of stuff I see outside in the shop. I know that from our team, I said the more that we find out about robots, the less we're worried about them taking over our lives. I'm more worried about your AI stuff that you do, Ben. Like those guys, like the Skynet thing happening more than Terminator running around shooting us or taking our jobs. So.
Well, you just need the software to jump into the Boston Dynamics robot, and then things get scary.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm most worried about the backflipping dog. I don't know. Like that's what keeps me up at night. Not really, but But Ben, I guess tell us a little bit more about AI and the area that you're working in, some of the advancements that are occurring there, and what the future looks like over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, so I think AI has really graduated and moved past the black box, which has been great for the subject matter expert. AI, when it started out early on, it was the nerds trying to sell the value, that this is the accuracy, the AU1 score, the F1 score, and to subject matter experts that's confusing, they don't understand what's going on. So a lot of times now API is communicated in KPIs in business value that makes sense, but it's also communicated in storytelling that subject matter experts can kind of buy in. The other thing we're seeing too is the consumption of all the data that matters. So before AI was very limited. So if you're building an AI system, you'd have to pick one data type or one data source, where now it's kind of this funnel effect that, oh, you want audio, you want video, you want audio, video, and text and structured. What do you know about the process, or what does the human know? I think that's the thing I think about when I think of an AI process is what does the human have access to that the AI system should also have access to? And if you trust the quality, we're seeing some really exciting examples where automation can be brought into new data type streams that were not considered previously.
I was thinking that when I look at how that's evolving, that these companies that are going to be able to make this transition, it's going to be the ones you were talking about it from your AI side. And on the robotic side, we fight the same thing. We talk about that getting repetitive processes. You need to be able to just start, find a way to start and get involved. The ones that are going to make that transition are the ones that have been kind of battling along, adding in a little bit by little bit. It's never going to be a great, perfect time just to start. You just got to get in and start. You got to start generating data. You got to start automating some of your processes through software, through adding an ERP system, through adding your first robot, or looking for ways to be able to, who you can partner with to be able to get in the game. Because if you're not slowly preparing yourself, getting your processes set up in your office, creating data that then you can give to some smart AI guys to be able to help you figure out what to do. Or if you don't have those things, you can't just all of a sudden just jump into it. It's the ones that have been moving along and slowly adding and growing. Those are the people that I see they're going to be situated to be able to take on that next new thing, or to be able to add that next exciting technology that'll be able to take them to the next level.
Another aspect that I want to say is that is important. The artificial intelligence is important for sure for the final user. One day it will be the standard, but is really important also on the side of the producer of machine like us, let's say. So I mean, my opinion is that that companies like producing robots or solution, they must absolutely work on and trying to take the advantages of the artificial intelligence and bring them on board. I mean, I'm sure that maybe companies that then don't have this kind of forecast, maybe they go ahead and producing machines without this new technology that is coming. They can have troubles in the future. So it's really important to understand that it will be the way. Machine learning, AI will be the way, and it's absolutely necessary to bring the technology as soon as possible on board. One of the problems is that this kind of, this is again my opinion, this kind of development is really is a big effort for little company producing machines like Leicester or Leicester USA. It's important the cooperation between the companies, between them making development, and to be able to create a network and to be able to spread all the experience and bring the real world of the manufacturing.
Guys, I want to take us into a new segment of the show that we're going to call Automation in the News. And we're just going to go over a few different news stories and different pieces of news that have come out over the last several weeks and talk about how it impacts the world of automation. And so I want to start off with maybe the biggest news in the United States over the last week, and that was the ushering in of a new presidential administration. And I don't want to wade too far into political waters, but Derek, let's start off with you. What are you hoping to see from the Biden administration that encourages manufacturing here in the United States?
Without mentioning the name of either post or current president, and for trying to not get our building shot at, both sides I think they're just through, I'd say, COVID alone has heightened the idea of manufacturing. So both sides are talking about manufacturing. That's very exciting. That we're looking at. We've seen that we cannot rely completely to globally get all of our resources. So as we see that, we have to be able to have some sustainable manufacturing here in North America, specifically the U.S. To completely rely on other countries. We found out that that's pretty scary. I think that was a wake-up call for both sides, and I think we've been unified on that. So I hope that we'll continue to be able to move towards manufacturing be a major focus for our country. Also, each administration, I'd see a lot of companies are nervous about really investing or moving at the next level because a shift every 4 years could change the direction. So until our country really comes together and both sides say that manufacturing is going to be important to be able to bring some of the different capabilities back to here, that's going to be a huge piece of how we're able to add new capabilities for our country.
Ben, I think at one point it's been said that manufacturing jobs have left the United States and they aren't coming back. What should people take forward, I suppose? What should be the outlook on the future of manufacturing here in the United States?
It's a tricky discussion because in semiconductor, we're seeing that where they have big fabs being built in China and overseas, and the reality is the innovation will go where the volume goes. So the idea that you're exporting, if manufacturing is outside of the US, a lot of innovation is going to happen there too. It's going to happen there where they're dealing with excursions and different process issues and scale issues. So I think from the US, when I think of our kind of our superpower and things that we're best known for, it's technology. So how how can we invest more resources and time in technology? We have a fantastic startup community. You look at the amount of capital and investment that goes into U.S. startups versus elsewhere in the world. We definitely don't want to stop that, because the U.S. is known for taking big risks, big bets on new startups. So how can we be a key part in enabling the manufacturing automation and driving that innovation? But it's challenging.
I think it's neat though that at least companies are thinking. This is mainly the bigger companies, but at least a lot of the companies are thinking about bringing it back. Where it used to just be find the cheapest labor. So it was in China. Well, we can't go to China now. We're going to look at India. And now people are like, wait, well, with automation, maybe we can make this work over here. Which I think that's an interesting, exciting thought now as we look at what capabilities are there, and at least we're looking at comparing. What things can be brought back, being reshored. Some things don't make sense, but there are things now that probably could be done over here.
A quote off of Joe Biden's website says, if we make smart investments in manufacturing and technology, give our workers and companies the tools they need to compete, use taxpayer dollars to buy American and spark American innovation, stand up to the Chinese government's abuses, insist on fair trade, and extend opportunity to all Americans, many of the products that are being made abroad could be made here today. Do you hear anything in that statement that you disagree with, first of all? And second of all, do you think that the things he laid out are possible?
One quick thought is, I feel very strongly that we should never do something to protect a job that is ripe for automation. And I've actually seen this before, where there's something in automobile manufacturing and the union disagrees with it. And so that technology is stopped. So maybe that's kind of hidden in some of the language. I hope it's not, but that's my knee-jerk reaction. We should never do anything to protect a job that is ripe for automation. We should figure out how to place them, educate them, potentially tax the innovation. Like, don't stop the innovation from happening just because you're worried about a particular job in manufacturing.
I think it sounds really good, and we're advocates for manufacturing, but not everything makes sense to come back as well, because no consumer wants to pay twice as much as they're paying for something now either. So as we look at educating and bringing back other jobs and looking at what things can be brought back with automation that can overcome the difference between cheaper labor, it'll be an interesting, slow transition on some of these different products.
Yes, just, sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask your perspective.
Yeah, so yeah. I'm very far away from the discussion on the, the new president and so on. So I'm just a watcher, like many of you in the Europe, because for sure everything. Going back on your previous question, the discussion and the strategy of cooperation of, let's say, commercial war between U.S. and China is also creating. We are in Europe. We are watching these things with a little bit nervous because we don't understand. But going back on the discussion of efficiency and how to protect the job, I absolutely agree that it's not correct to protect job that can be done by automation. And for me, one of the big and perfect example is Scandinavia. We have a lot of experience in a lot of customers, for example, in Sweden. And if you check the statistics in Sweden, they have a lot of robots for employers. The numbers of robots used is a lot, and Sweden they have a very high efficiency in job. They have a very good product. IKEA is one of the biggest producer of wood of furniture, and they are able to, for sure, their production not just in Sweden, they have production in Europe, in China, and so on. But anyway, also the production, in the internal production and the manufacturing over there is amazing. They have a lot of automation. People is satisfied by the job. They have a lot of the percentage of unemployed is very low, and is a good sample on our point of view and a good way to follow. And also, this is why when Derek was with me in Europe, I wanted to bring him and his team in Scandinavia over there, because on my personal point of view, over there is a good sample of a good integration between automation, between efficiency, job, and this kind of topic,
Ben, this is really good from what Emma said too, Ben. You had said that, and I agree that we don't want to protect, or that there are places that protect jobs from becoming automated, but also as a country, we also are really hindering our evolution because of our regulations that we have as well. there's some amazing technology over in Europe that is not here in the US. And when I talked to the other equipment companies and I asked why it's not here, they said it costs too much. It's just a pain in the butt that to be able to go jump through all the hoops and the red tape to be able to come here. We play by a completely different set of rules than the rest of the entire world. So there's all kinds of innovation and things happening. And we're usually like at least 5 years behind being able to do it here because of the pay to play. So I think as we look at trying to be globally competitive, it is something that we need to look at is how do we get some universal standard, or how do we get out of where our country is run by lawyers and insurance companies, and it's tough to get through. It took us a long time. It took us 2 years to get our self-learning robotic technology here to the U.S. And Canada, and it took us a long time, and it was a tough road. Also, there's some other technologies we're bringing in now too, but it's not easy to bring technologies here to stay competitive or to bring that in as well.
So Derek, even my kids know this because they complain that you can't buy Kinder eggs in the U.S. or the ones we buy are stupid. You have to like smuggle Kinder eggs in with the actual toy because of the liability. Yeah, liability is a huge issue for innovation.
So if Joe Biden were to ask you tomorrow, what's the best way to improve manufacturing, increase our capabilities, and really unleash a new wave of American ingenuity, a lot of that would be, hey, reduce regulation, allow us to bring in some new things in a cheaper way, and you would see an explosion of that. Is that something that you would agree with?
Oh, that's not going to happen. That's some wishful thinking there.
I already passed this number along to you.
We have to educate the general what the opportunities are in manufacturing. The technology is coming. It's the companies are adapting, and they have to be able to stay relevant. They have to be able to add new capabilities, and if they don't, they won't be able to bring on the employees that they need. The next generation is looking for that. Companies are seeing that. I think a lot of them have quit complaining about not being able to, that the younger generations don't want to work. That's not true. We need to adapt to be able to work differently to be able to improve that. And I think we're kind of the example of, in the finishing industry for painting, no one can ever find painters. Well, we adapted self-learning robots. We added them to our general industry job shop side of our company, and we now have a waiting list of industrial painters that want to work at our facility. Now, how that happened, when I used to also skip that entire side of our tour of our company because I could see what people were interested in, and they didn't want to look at that because it was a dirty, you're crawling around and you got a hood and mask on. But now we have a robot involved. Now it's the highlight of our tour. Now the kids are all excited. They want to know about paint. They want to know different chemistries, and they're excited about it, and they want to see what that could look like. So it's really, it can change. We have to start educating them of the opportunities that kids have, and that there's exciting careers that can pay really well. Once that starts happening, we'll be able to be very competitive.
Ben, what is the secret to getting more young people, the next generation, interested in these particular opportunities?
It's a mess right now because I think some of the high schools, and when they teach the younger generation, it's not engaging. So they're teaching them outdated technologies already. They're not teaching them up-to-date computer science and programming. And the ones that are good, they get jobs in the private sector. So I went in for a teacher conference. I've got kids in elementary school, and I have a conversation with a teacher, and I realize she has a master's in math. And my knee-jerk reaction is, well, you could triple your salary in the private sector, so why aren't you doing that? Which is a terrible thing for me to say because I want her to like stay the teacher for my kids. So I think a big part of that is probably working with, the politicians, people in charge of the government, helping them understand the priorities that you need to have mandates to invest funds for computer science and artificial intelligence for kids, because they're such fun topics. Like if you went and gave a talk at a school on AI, you could shock a lot of kids and get them really excited about robots and teaching robots and some of the really cool AI things we have today, but that's not really happening yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe kids need to watch more of Transformers or something. I don't know, but I could definitely see that something like that might be beneficial. Guys, let me get you out of here on this final question. This is casting an eye forward at automation, but what does the future of automation look like in a post-COVID-19 world? How will things have evolved and changed, things along those lines? Emmanuel, let's start off with you. How do you think that the world looks different once we're in a fully post-COVID world? How will things have changed?
Well, for sure, I hope that the trend will be positive, like right now is doing. I mean, we hope that the numbers of units, the requirements of the companies will be higher, and it looks like the outlook is like that. I mean, we are growing, and all the sector is growing. But for sure, I know that to break the last wall, what is important is to go ahead in the direction of the things that must be easy and smart. I mean, if we think about solutions of, let's say, 10, 15 years ago in automation, starting from the device to controller to robots, they were completely, let me say, complicated to manage. So not easy in the management. You need engineer to make the things happen. And the trend is that the more we are easy, more we are smart, the more we follow the idea of to make everything easy and comfortable, more the numbers will grow, and for sure also the entrepreneurs and the companies will understand the benefit. Because what is one thing that normally I say to my customers, that our goal is to avoid headaches on the workers, on the people that is managing the machines and automation. So the trend will go, but we have to be smarter, easy in the management, the maintenance, in the remote control, and let life be better and easier for the people that is working with the machines.
I think we also have to change the mindset of what an investment in robotics, AI, automation in general looks like. We have to look at it as an investment in the future, that some of your ROI measurements on a machine might be a little bit different as you look at robotics. Sometimes it's a slam dunk and it's amazing, and sometimes it's not. So you pick that place to start. That we have to be ready to be able to set some realistic expectations of what the easy button looks like, and that it has to be an all-in approach where the whole company is involved in learning how to improve your processes and get started in automation or robotics or software development to be implemented, and be able to just keep going a little bit at a time and keep growing, and let's see where that will grow and where your company can go from there.
I think the last thing I'll add is it's really forced. It's brought about a forced innovation. So in March a lot of people are forced to, what does the skeleton crew look like? What are the processes where we could cut cost? And so I think there's been a lot more brainstorming about some of this innovation internally, where normally in manufacturing, it's really easy to get swallowed up in just the work in progress and the urgency that's existed for many, many years. So I think COVID's kind of been a forced brainstorm for a lot of companies about how they can do more with less.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having the three of you on today here for our Automation Roundtable. Derek DeGeest, Ben Taylor, and Emmanuel Mata. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
And everyone, thank you for tuning in to our first Automation Industry Roundtable. We will be back soon with many more episodes, so stay tuned to MarketScale.com for more on automation. We'll also have retail and quick service restaurants as well. So stay tuned for those episodes, and we will be back soon. But until then, I've been your host today, Tyler Kern. Thanks for joining us today.